indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business, and it wasn't on the original agenda, but we knew it was coming, got on there, is employee recognition. As you guys know, we've been, this year, we're recognizing our employees when they get to service anniversary marks at 20 years plus on every 5 years. And this week, or this month, we've got Clarence Edge. He is a water distribution crew leader. 2004, when you got to be crew leader. Clarence has done a great job. I saw a lot of Clarence during these water main breaks. Maybe he didn't want to see me, but those guys do a great job. Clarence, if their crews, and you were out there, you saw what a great job they do. So we appreciate Clarence's time and expect you've got many more years to come. So, Tony, you want to come up and stand in for JT?
All glasses are off, he's ready now.
So we'll hold the flag out. Tanya, how do you want it?
I think you're good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You know, they never say. JT is, as I think everybody knows,
Second home.
lounging in the Florida sunshine, we hope anyway. So, Tony, are there any agenda review modifications?
I have none of the other board members have any modifications they want to see on. Move forward with the agenda.
Okay, election of officers, Mr. Vice Chair.
Current slate has J.T. Fulkerson as chair, me as co-chair, and as secretary. Do I have a motion for any changes or?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we maintain the same slate of officers for the 2019 year.
Have a motion and a second, any questions?
As long as they're willing to serve.
Well, J.T. should have been
Well, I understand that the permission.
He did.
Call for vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you all for serving.
Thank you all very much. You don't know how much we appreciate it as well. Our next discussion agenda item is we have had a customer who's asked for a dedicated internet access circuit. It's above our published and rates that you've approved, so our rate structure is that when these come up, that we would propose for approval, for the commission to approve. I don't know, Chris, if you want to.
Yeah, a very large customer of ours has requested that we provide this level of bandwidth to them. They provided some competitive pricing information, and I felt it appropriate to approach the commission with that type of pricing to be in the ballpark there.
And this is a good, I think this is a good customer for us to have, and certainly enthusiastically recommend that we, that you guys approve this recommendation.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, this is kind of stuff you do in business. This is what you do. Be a customer phone, you try to be favorable rates, because overall it's to the betterment of the organization. So,
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Is this a monthly rate? I assume?
This is a monthly rate, correct?
What is the pricing now for the 200 by 200, the highest that we have now?
Off the top of my head, I think the 1-year rate for it is about at the 1,400 level that we propose for the 5-year rate for this, which actually brings up the point that in our work session come February 6th, I'm going to be discussing what I think we need to do with those rates as well to realign things. Given the competitive nature of this pricing at this level, there is merit to looking at the bandwidth again, as we did in the past.
Who is our competition for this kind of?
Spectrum, AT&T.
Spectrum, okay.
AT&T specifically is kind of what we're going against right now.
So this is competitive with their rates, beats
Yes.
their rates? Or?
For this speed level, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Better rate for the service.
My opinion.
Yes.
Call the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, the next one is again on the telecom. Our international calling carrier has adjusted their rates for international only. We don't have a lot of voice customers that use international, but some do, so we just pass these on to our customers.
Right, with a 1 cent markup, basically, so it's just taking the wholesale rates to us and marking up by a penny for each minute. And we have very little, as Kevin indicated, very little international calling, but it's just something appropriate that we need to do to make sure that we're in line.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next one is a new position, to give you the background, I think it was spelled out in the memo, but summary of that. We had our treasury analyst who has resigned and moved on to greener pastures. And part of our look forward is we look forward to the change in our business when we get out of generation, the power marketing business. When we have openings, and we've been doing this a lot in production, but also in other parts of the company that support that. We look at those openings, those positions, and see, how do we need to restructure moving forward to position us for that. And this was one of the positions in our restructuring plan in our finance accounting group that was going to be ultimately modified in the future. So what we're proposing here is to eliminate the senior treasury analyst position, which was a pay grade 15. And replace that with a new position of financial analyst specialist. I knew I was going to do that. At a much more pay grade, because a lot of those high-level duties that this position would be continuing to do with power marketing and with coal contracts and those kind of things will be going away with our exit of power generation. And this position reports to Jason. So those higher level things that do need to continue on, he will be picking those up. So we will be replacing a grade 15 with a grade 7 position. The grade 15 was exempt non-civil service. This is a lower position, more clerical type work. So it will be a civil service non-exempt position.
Is this somebody that you're gonna transfer to this position, or?
No, we will go through the civil service processing. We will do closed tests. We will expect that we'll have good candidates internally for that, but we'll have to follow the civil service process.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Just comment, I mean, it may not seem like a major change, but, $40,000 a year, you're looking at those things, 10 years, it's a lot of money. And we appreciate you looking at this continually to see where we can restructure to better help our rate makers. So, I appreciate you doing this early, make it work.
And Lynn and Jason Alder, we worked hard on this.
Call for vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all. Consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Move on.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just said financial, and I was like, okay, well, that's Lynn. No, that's Laura.
I'm actually going to present the financial results for the second quarter that ended November 30th, 2018. And I'll just give a brief overview as I go. And I'll start with the consolidated electric system. Those are the units that make that up. Our operating revenue was below budget and higher than prior years. It was below budget by 2.4%. Our operating expenses for the consolidated electric system was also below budget, nearly 6%. And that will be explained in later slides. But it results in net income that was about $2 million above what we budgeted. Came in at $11.7 million versus our $9.6 million budget. This next slide just shows the balances of our cash and investments. Pretty much on target or above budget there. That's all I have for consolidated electric before I move on into the units within the consolidated electric system. There's no questions. Our Amber Smith, our generation for that was up nearly 9%. That is a product of We had some favorable market prices in June and then the latter part of the second quarter as well. Our operating expenses were below budget. That was primarily due to the efficiencies we gained when we leave the system running, as well as we had a fuel adjustment in September of about nearly $4 million lower. It lowered our fuel expense by $4 million.
So I can get these numbers correct. So if you're 8.8% above budget, but you're 6.9% below budget, you're actually at a gain of those two numbers added together as far as your margin.
Yes.
How do we get that negotiated coal inventory adjustment? I thought we had a contract to pay so much for coal. Why did we get what's called negotiated coal inventory adjustment?
So, the way that, I'm gonna get tangled up in my underwear, as Bob Harper used to say. But the way that they expense the coal as it's burned, so they take effectively an average of the coal value that's in the coal pile. And then what we do is the coal pile inventory then is carried on our books. We did an inventory measurement, physical measurement of our coal pile in September, October. Where we go out, and what that revealed is we had more coal on the ground than our books said. So what that means is, and I'm simplifying this, the accounts are probably getting the heebie-jeebies. What that means is we charge our customers for more. We thought we burned more coal than we did, so through the ECA, we over-collected that. So where you see that is an adjustment to the ECA balance is really where it's most evident. So didn't change anything about our coal contracts. It's just as we measure the coal, we don't have and it's by design. The way we measure the coal burn gives us a pretty good estimate, but not exact. So that's why we have to go every couple of years and do a coal pile. We physically measure the coal pile and calculate how much coal is on the coal pile. So that's where that adjustment came from. We'll be doing another one of those probably this next fiscal year. We think there's still some adjustment to be made to positively in that direction. So.
Okay, so you measure coal based on heat generation, but then measure the coal pile by physical volume. That's the way you do it?
We do both. We keep track of the tons of coal that we burn. We have scales in the plant on the belt scales. They keep track of that. Sometimes they get off. Also, rain and different things can affect. Obviously, we're taking in more water than. So that's one way, and then we also calculate using the heat rates and the efficiency of the unit. You know, we do it that way as well. But this is just looking out, literally measuring the coal pile. This is how much coal is really there, and then adjusting the inventory.
You just survey it.
We survey it. We do density measurements, so we know the density of the coal and, calculate the weight.
But it's weighed when you deliver it, it's weighed when you put on the conveyor, is that not accurate?
Well, if it rains in between, so now I'm weighing some rainwater on the belt that didn't get measured on the, when we received the coal, and that's part of it. And the belt scales have a certain accuracy, so we have to do this occasionally.
So we have an accounting that tells how much assets out there for the coal, and so now it's higher than it was?
Yes.
Basically, so we're getting a bill on that, and we charged off part of that already.
We already
so-
expensed it, so then
Exactly.
we reversed.
So you're just making a different entry there.
And you see the ECA, but it moved the ECA balance.
Right.
Thanks, appreciate that.
So the next slide shows our operating expense per megawatt hour at Elmer Smith. The first line shows our non-fuel expense, pretty much on target with budget. But the fuel adjustment is shown in the red line here. It shows us quite a bit below budget, and that again is related to that. And then our total cost per megawatt hour is shown by the yellow or gold line there. And again, that's just a follow-up of the overall lower costs associated with fuel. Are there any other questions? I'll move on to wholesale power marketing if not. Wholesale power marketing, here our set of bars on the left shows our market prices, our average market prices we receive from our power markets. And the bars on the right represents the the prices we received from our sale of seat power, both of which are above what we budgeted. Discussed earlier. Our sales, as a result of our increased generation, was up nearly 19% above budget. And then similarly, our revenue was up 18% above budget. Our operating expenses were 2% actually below budget. And the driver there is being the purchase power. And then this shows a breakdown which highlights the fuel adjustment, and that's the breakdown of our largest expense, purchase power. Any questions on wholesale? I'll move on to retail. Our retail sales were 5% above budget, also above prior year. Our revenues were 11% below budget. That's primarily driven by our lower ECA. We had higher, we collected more through wholesale, so the retail customers, we did not collect as much through the retail customers. As Kevin alluded to, this shows the balance of our ECA adjustment. It's pretty much staying flat there at 14 million, which is below what we budgeted, and it is a product primarily of the fuel adjustment we made. Our operating expense, again, is 9% below budget. It is driven by those fuel savings that we were able to pass on to our retail customers. This shows a breakdown of our largest category of operating expense, purchase power, and again, driven by our lower fuel costs. Are there any questions on retail?
Well, if those, this is gone through based on ending November 30th.
Correct.
How much is the warm December and January gonna flip those numbers the other way?
I think the latest
We're
is
still
that.
on target.
December is a good month.
Seriously?
We're a little low on the retail, but we're still on target. Wholesale was beat budget in December. January so far is not a good month, but still got a few days.
That's encouraging, but December was.
So it's cold and hot both.
We've got a really, the warmth at the end was enough to completely offset the really cold start to the month. Very good.
Our last unit is the telecommunications unit. Our revenue was up 8% above budget. That's pretty much in most all categories of customers. The next slide shows our commercial revenue, which is the largest portion of our telecommunications revenue. It's up nearly 5%, mostly driven by our internet and voice services and dark fiber. Point-to-point is pretty much on target with budget. Our operating expenses are below budget, and that's primarily driven by lower O&M, but all classes were below budget. And that's it for the consolidated electric system before I move on to the water system. Our water system cubic feet sales were above budget by 3%, nearly 3%. Our revenues were below budget by 7%, and if you recall, we budgeted a rate increase in July that didn't actually take effect until October, so that's why we have lower revenue. Our operating expenses were also below budget by 8%, and that's primarily driven by our production as well as lower G&A costs that was allocated to the water system. This slide shows, similar to the electric side, we show an expense per unit, and this is 1,000 gallons of expense per 1,000 gallons, and it is below budget as well. Our net income was above budget, and that's primarily driven by our lower expenses. Above budget, $539,000 is what we came in at compared to our $237,000 budget. This slide shows our cash and investment balances being pretty much on target with budget. At the capital improvements, we expected to spend more than we did. You know, it was a late issuance of the bonds, later than what we budgeted. We would like to show G&A in total, and if we can see here it's 16% below budget. This is what, and it shows how we allocated among our companies. And then this slide shows the G&A in total, and it's primarily driven by lower outside services, and that's at wholesale primarily. And our computer cost is lower, but that's pretty much the timing of our maintenance contracts. In total, consolidated electric system was $2 million above budget. That's driven by our retail electric sales, our retail electric revenues. That was $6.6 million below budget. That was primarily due to, again, the ECA revenue that we were able to collect basically on the wholesale performance. Wholesale market prices were above budget. Our fuel costs at Elmer Smith were below budget. And telecommunication net income was $116,000 above budget. And our water system net income was $300,000 above budget. Any questions?
Is all these numbers, do they reflect that expense we're having to pay out and taking the
We set that up as a receivable.
Okay.
It's not expense yet. Just our portion, our 10% or whatever is expense. Receivable, $4.6 million.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Sorry, I almost forgot you. I apologize.
Oh.
All right. Now what's that?
Seems like it's been forever since the board meeting.
Okay, so we did talk a little bit about December weather. December came in very cold and ended fairly warm, so to the point where for the average for the month, we were 2 or 3 degrees above normal in Owensboro. But sea load was a little bit below budget, 4% below budget. Wholesale sales were higher than budget, and the good pricing that we had in the first part of the month held out until the holidays and then peeled off. But so overall, December I think was the cold. As I said, the cold at the beginning more than compensated for the warmth that we had at the end of the month. Units performed very well during December. Unit 1 had about 3 days of outages. Unit 2 was only on forced outage for about a little over a day. Last month I reported that November set a record for generation since 2015 for net generation, the highest since 2015. We beat that by about 10,000 megawatt hours, so December now has the highest generation since March of 2015. So December was a good month at the power plant, a good month for the wholesale market. As Laura, well, she had showed you that. Lynn, your numbers with December. At that time of year, we started work on the budget schedule, and we will be working diligently on that between now and the end of this fiscal year. And then earlier this week, Tim and I met with Brittany Johnson. She's the new president and CEO of GoEDC. We gave her a pretty in-depth overview of OMU and what we do and all of our businesses. And then we took her on a tour of our infrastructure so she could understand those things, and talked a lot about where we've been and where we're going with power supply and with the water plant, and thought we had a pretty good discussion. And she's familiar with electric utilities. She's visited Vectren, which is was her utility provider in Posey County. So I think it went very well. She had a lot of good questions and a lot of good comments. Pleased with that. All right. Now I wait till Lynn's turn.
Okay, the financials for December 2018 fiscal year to date, the consolidated electric system, we're up 22.9% better than budget. The retail system, we're up, without the ECA adjustment, we're up 21% better than budget. So even though the operating revenues for retail show a decrease of 12%, it's got that wholesale piece rolled in there, and wholesale is better than budget by 6.9 million. So that's lowering the retail side by accrual, through the ECA accrual. On the wholesale system, we're up 41.7% better than budget for net income. And then on telecommunications, we're up 153,000 better than budget. Water system, we're up 557,000 better than budget. The ECA due from customers is 13.4 3 million at this time. And then the chart at the bottom, based on 7 months of actuals, and then the rest of the year budget, what we've got budgeted, we expect to, or we forecast the consolidated electric system to end 20% better than budget. The retail system, 18.7% better than budget, wholesale about 25% better than budget, and then telecommunications, 154,000 better than budget, and then water about the same as we are now, 57,000 better than budget. But basically, we've lowered salaries, and we've lowered we haven't spent all our budgeted outside services, so that's a big thing. But even though our retails were down a little bit, our expenses are down more than our retail. Our revenues were down for the retail.
Weather's such a big factor.
Weather's
It
really
is
good.
on the electric side.
What do you see February to March?
As of right now, they are projecting with this front that's coming through this weekend, that to kind of begin the colder winter weather that we usually get. And so the back half of January to be near normal temperatures, which we've been well above normal so far. And then February is projected by all the forecasts we've seen to be below normal temperature and a little bit below normal precipitation. So cold and dry, which is good for us. And that's, right now, that's projected to carry into early March now. Weathermen are, you can flip a coin, because they're, 6 weeks ago, they were projecting very cold weather for the first part of January. But now they just said it's kind of shifted back into the back half of the winter.
Brad, we'll keep that plant operating at that same efficiency.
We'll have a planned outage on Unit 2 for 3 weeks, starting mid-April. But outside of that, we should be, and that'll be the final outage on Unit 2. That'll be preparing for the last year of run on that unit. And
Just get us going until April.
We by luck, I guess, or good and bad luck both, we took Unit 1 off. We had some tube leaks last Wednesday afternoon.
yes,
And it's still off. It's coming back today, hopefully.
should be released. Should be
But
on its way.
the temperatures with this weather were based on those temperatures and the resulting prices, we didn't lose a lot of opportunity with Unit 1 off for a week. And now the prices are beginning to come back with the temperature this weekend and next week. We'll have it back on, and we'll be back in ready to capture those opportunities in the market. So that kind of worked out for us with the warm weather and having to do some work on Unit 1. I think, and Brad, you can jump in, but we've done a lot of work on Unit 1 this week when it's off, and we're hoping that we've kind of got it in shape for its last. We got 5 more months of run on Unit 1 until we shut it down again tonight.
Yeah, one of the number 12 cyclones specifically has been a thorn in our side for the last couple of months, and tube leaks resulting in outages. We've actually replaced 8 tubes inside that cyclone during this outage, which should remedy the biggest portion of that. We put a lot of pad welds in there, and there's only so many times you can pad weld a tube before it doesn't hold anymore. And we've reached that. So yeah, we've got some ductwork leaks repaired. We've got some expansion joint leaks or ribs that we've known about that we've repaired during this outage. So hopefully we're ready now to hit that stretch and see where we land after the Unit 2 outage is complete. That's the goal.
We'll pick a day for the shutdown and meet out there and play taps.
We have talked about, some of the employees have asked, are we going to do any ceremony, and we might. Some of our retirees are like, we want to come back and say goodbye. So, but we may do that when we shut Unit 2 down and we're done out there.
How long does it take to shut the unit down? Unit 1? I mean, what, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months? I mean, I know you.
Quit feeding coal, it shuts down.
Well, it doesn't take long to shut it down. The question is to put it in what our plan is right now is to put Unit 1 in a position of a somewhat standby, so that if we had a catastrophic failure on Unit 2 in the hot summer months, we could bring it back on. But pretty much beyond September, we're not going to try to maintain it, because that would be an expense that we'd have to do. So we're gonna keep it in a state where we could start it back up. We had a blazing hot summer, and we had a problem with Unit 2. But after that, we'll be starting the process of permanently putting it in a position where we won't be maintaining things that will need to be maintained to start it back up.
You know, I said that somewhat jokingly, but it's kind of bittersweet. There's people have spent their whole career trying to keep that thing going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mixed emotions.
No, I think, I've had some retirees say, I'd like to come back out, at that time. So I think we'll probably do
I hope y'all
something.
will do something.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the wholesale market price is staying up as a reflection of a lot of other utilities closing their coal burning facilities, and so there's less supply?
It's
than
just, it's almost
Or is it just
all
the
driven by
weather?
weather.
demand? Just the weather,
Yeah.
okay.
Because natural gas is still, natural gas took a spike up with, we had the cold November and all of the people in the market thought that we're gonna have a really cold winter, and natural gas took a big spike up, but it's back down. It's dropping like a rock now, because now we've got warmer weather and then more normal predictions for this winter.
Okay.
So, and that, it's amazing how much these markets move based on a weather forecast. All right, I don't know, have anything for a future meeting? Governance items, JT, all of these were reviewed by JT, and he found us in compliance with all of those. No new policies for the review or development. Brittany has put up on the portal some links for educational opportunities for the webinars, and then the conference and meeting event schedule. The national conference this year is in Austin, Texas. I believe it's second full week of June, somewhere around that time. So I know that's one that we typically attend. If there are other things that you want to set up a webinar or this educational opportunities you want to take advantage of, get with Brittany or myself, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Upcoming meetings, a couple things. We did change the date of the February work session to that Wednesday, February 6th. And JT has a conflict with the, I think it's a pension board, for the regular February 20 meeting, and he asked me to check with you and see if there was an alternate date, the 21st, yeah. He can do it on that Wednesday, the 20th, or just move it up one day.
I could do it Wednesday if we moved it to the morning, but I can't do the regular time Wednesday.
We could do that. If everybody else is okay with it.
On the 20th?
On the 20th?
What time?
No, wait, that's part of it. I'm sorry, I think I misread that. I could do 11:30.
11:30 on the 20th? We will pencil that in, we'll confirm that everybody is available, and then we will.
In the work session time, usual time on.
Usual time.
February the 6th?
Correct.
11:30?
Yes. Okay.
And just for your all's information, on, I think this is right here. On the main screen, there's a link, and it has our calendar,
Oh,
just
yeah, I
all
was
the
gonna ask you about that.
meeting dates.
Okay.
And as, if we need to change any of them, I'll keep this updated, that way we can all just refer to that.
Don't think we have anything else for the open session. So, we do have closed session items, so I will read the closed session wording here. So, I guess we'll need a motion to go into closed session, discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 61.810-1F, pending litigation pursuant to KRS 61.810-1C, and matters which are required to be discussed in privacy pursuant to KRS 61.810-1K, including but not limited to KRS 61.878-1CI and KRS 61.872-6.
Make motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?